Fostering connection through vulnerability, the People Pleaser podcast validates struggles, celebrates growth, and inspires positive change. Together, let's embrace authenticity, challenge patterns, and evolve with compassion. Hello, and welcome to the People Pleaser podcast. It's Corie. Thanks for being here. I realize, I listen to a lot of podcasts, and I realize that a lot of podcasters, they just start talking. And I feel the need to always say hello and introduce myself. And it's dawned on me that it might be getting a little redundant, but it just feels like I need to start. It just allows me this moment to almost just orient myself and get in the mood, because 5 seconds ago, I was doing something completely different. I had a busy work day today, and I came home and I walked the dog and I had dinner and I got some groceries, and it just kind of feels like it's a long day. It takes a long time to finally get to the point in the evening where I get to sit down. And that is aligning with what I want to talk to you or share with you tonight. And that is the topic of chronic stress. And these are two words that I wish really didn't apply to me. But the more I am realizing, the more I'm reflecting, the more doctor's appointments I'm going to, the more I am beginning to see that a lot of the struggles that I'm experiencing, whether those are mentally, emotionally, physically, they are all kind of coming back to this place of I'm stressed. I am in a flooded state. I want to break that down a little bit. So today I want to talk about kind of the overall experiences or feelings that I'm going through, and also trying to shed light on what I've tried to do to alleviate these symptoms or these feelings. I also have been doing a little bit of research on what the experts recommend. So there's definitely some room for improvement. Just to kind of cue this up, I have been chronically, to use this word again, but chronically an overachiever, an overdoer of things, where I have continuously set higher and higher standards for myself, no matter what the context is. So I need to be the very best student, the very best employee, the very best wife, the very best dog owner, the very best friend, the very best podcaster. I latch on to that concept or that idea, that hope of perfectionism across the board. So I already know that the expectations that I hold myself to are completely inflated and completely unnecessary, and no one is expecting that from me. That is all self-imposed. I also have worked in the nonprofit sector. I've worked with marginalized populations. I've worked with really wonderful and amazing people that are going through really, really hard times. And I have kind of assumed this role as the rock or the steady one or the capable one, the one with the answers, the one who can help. And this has been, I've been working in and around this field for, close to 20 years. And that has almost become my whole way of being, no matter what the circumstance is. And right now I'm working in a cafe, and I feel this pull to be the support person for everybody working there, taking on, these added little responsibilities, doing going the extra mile with every little thing, remembering every customer's name, really truly living up to this idea of perfectionism. I'm doing it at home. I'm keeping the house tidy. I'm making sure the dog is taken care of, like, beyond just the normal amount. I take him for hour-long walks and feel extremely guilty if we have to skip a day. I'm trying to make the best dinners and try new recipes. I carry this sense of responsibility that just doesn't ever go away, doesn't ever pause. I never really feel like, I can just kind of coast and relax and not worry about anyone or not worry about anything. I am always thinking or planning, worrying about something or someone. That doesn't really turn off in my brain. It kind of makes me think that I'm never really getting to that place of rest, that place of surrender, that place of nourishment where my needs are being met. I love meeting the needs of others. I love being helpful and purposeful, supportive. And I know that I have access to all those things. Like, there are many people in my life who would love to return the favor, but I think I make it pretty hard. I think I make it pretty hard for people to do the same for me. And my response to this feeling of like overwhelm or overcommitment, overextension has been to like make my world smaller and smaller. It doesn't seem that there's any amount of things that I can remove. Like, I've removed social media. I've removed certain people. I've changed jobs. I've reduced my work schedule. I don't really know that it's about like removing more. And it may be about adding more, but I also feel like I'm doing a pretty good job of adding more when it comes to like eating well, taking the right supplements and vitamins, getting good sleeps. Like, I sleep like a rock. I could probably do with maybe 1 or 2 more hours of sleep, but I do think that I'm getting consistent sleep. I am exercising when I can. I'm socializing when I can. I'm trying to meditate and try to take that just like peaceful start to my day where I just really tune in. But my mind is busy. And I know that that is not criticized in meditation, and that the practice is very much about noticing the distractions and coming back to your center or your breath. And so I know that I'm not the only person who has a hard time being in a completely zen state, but I feel that this feeling has been going on for a long time, and I don't really know the way through it. Pretty recently, like, as of December until now, I've been having like chronic inflammation-y type health problems where I've had to go to the doctor multiple times. It just kind of seems like my body is in a state of stress and it's having a really hard time bouncing back. Like, I've been experiencing these health-related symptoms since the very beginning of December, and it is now, well into February. And I'm just seeing that my body's resilience has weakened. I don't know how to like care for myself in the right way. And I know that I'm doing a lot of things. Like, it's not to discount the effort that I'm making, but I don't know how in this economy to like truly surrender and truly prioritize my mental well-being, because someone else could be doing my life. Not that this matters, but like, I'm trying to make a point, but someone else could be just completely fine if they were to assume my schedule and assume my responsibilities and assume my way of life. I don't actually think that it's that I have too much on my plate or that I have the wrong things on my plate. I do really see this as like my capacity has lowered. I have less capacity to take on what, I maybe used to be able to take on or what somebody else might be able to take on. And that's been the hard pill to swallow, is that I don't really know what my capacity is anymore. I've really lost touch with it because I've assumed this autopilot where I just think that I should be capable of working full time, going to school full time, and doing all the things in between. I'm kind of coming to the realization and the acknowledgement that I can't do that in the same way that I used to. I don't really know what the right balance is right now. And so the first approach that I have recently taken, as starting next week, I will be going down to only working 4 days a week. And what's really nice about it is that I work 2 days, I have a day off, I work 2 days, I have 2 days off. So I'm only ever working 2 days in a row. I am really looking forward to that. And that does feel like a positive change. I threw around the idea of reducing school or maybe, looking into taking a pause. And that doesn't really feel like the right answer. I don't think I'm quite at that point where I want to go down that road quite yet. I don't really know why, other than that I just don't really want to. I am trying to learn through the support of a holistic nutritionist, my lovely friend Jillian, just around cortisol levels and what I can do to try to balance my spikes in my blood sugar. And she did such a good job of explaining this, but I'm going to totally botch it. But essentially, she is teaching me a few different things that I can do. But one is that if I'm going to drink coffee first thing in the morning, which I do, and I am not ready to let that one go, she said, drink your coffee, but try to get food in your belly before too long. I forget what she said exactly, but I kind of have an hour, 30 minute to an hour guideline where it's okay, you can have your first cup of coffee, but then before you have your second, get a little bit of food in you. And the way she explained it is that when you wake up, you kind of have high levels of melatonin because that's what's present when you sleep. But then as you wake up and approach the day, especially as you start adding something like coffee, your melatonin decreases and your cortisol increases. But by putting some food in your belly, you're sort of softening the curve. So it's not this spike. It's kind of okay, we're easing into it, because obviously you're going to have cortisol throughout your day. There's just stress involved with living in this world, but you can do your body via your blood sugar some real favors by just not shocking your system, especially first thing in the morning, because then that sets you up for kind of continued spikes throughout the day. And sorry, Jill, if I got that completely mixed around, but that's just kind of how it makes sense in my mind. So there are dietary ways that I can balance my blood sugar that will have a direct impact on my mental health, my mental and emotional well-being throughout the day. So those are still things that I'm learning. I'm also learning that there's a correlation between your mental and emotional health and your gut health and your microbiome. I am a strong case of someone who's been on a ton of antibiotics over the years, and I have completely ravaged my microbiome and my gut. And so Jillian and I are also working on just really restoring and repairing my gut so that I'm things are like moving properly, things are being digested and absorbed properly. I was reading recently that serotonin, which is kind of like the happy feel good hormone, is produced in the gut, which I had no idea. And that when our GI tract, our gut health is off kilter, there may be inflammation, different issues that can be arising in our gut that then contribute to neuroinflammation, which I didn't even know that was really like a thing that could happen. But neuroinflammation can manifest itself into different like mental, cognitive type symptoms. So like literally your gut can cause like emotional distress or mental distress, like not just the yucky feelings that we have, but like from a hormonal place. So again, not an expert here, but I'm just trying to like inform myself of like the various ways of looking at how I might be stressed, or my body might be stressed, my system might be stressed. I do see that as inflammation. I do see that as also like just the pressure that I put on myself for no reason at all. So those are the things that I feel like I'm already doing. And again, I don't think it's about doing enough or doing the right things per se. I do think that having some acceptance around capacity and like rewiring, almost like being like, okay, this is the capacity I have today. And not every day has to look the same. And I do think I fall into patterns pretty easily, and I have some rigidity when it comes to patterns. So if I say that I'm going to wake up at 5, well, I'm going to wake up at 5 every day. Every day. And if I sleep in or sneakily change my alarm to 6:30, that comes with like a huge sense of guilt or shame, or like, oh God, well, what is that going to mean for the rest of the day? Does that mean like I've lost an hour and a half? Like it's all very deficit-based thinking, very like fear-based, where I think that if I stray ever so slightly, I'm just going to fall completely off the wagon and lose control. And I do know so much of this is tied to this false sense of control, like that I think that I have control, and my body right now is like, actually, you don't. I do. And you are just a punk. Thinking you can call all the shots and control your way to health and success and fulfillment and happiness. So this white knuckle approach to control is something that I don't really know how to address. In my perfectionism, in my busybodiness, in my gotta do everything for everyone all at once, there is this layer that does interact where I give myself like, I make it out so that I'm the only one that could possibly do this. Like I have to do this. And that what that's basically saying is that no one else can. You can't do this. And, you know, this is something that comes up with my husband and I around dinner, because I do want to make dinner. I also don't want to make dinner. And if I were to say I don't want to make dinner, my husband would make dinner. But I have created this like narrative that I make great dinners. My dinners are healthy. I meal plan. I put a lot of effort in. Like, look at all this amazing work I've done, that if I were to just let him make dinner, well, then what? Like, let him make dinner. The goal is to eat. The goal is nourishment. The goal is to reduce stress. The goal is to take one thing off my plate. Let him make dinner. Admit that you're tired. Admit that you don't want to. Admit that you've taken on too much. Admit that you need to maybe change the way you're doing things. So control is a big thing that I think I need to examine. I know I need to examine. It gets in my way more than it actually helps me. And I know that it does offer me something. So it's not like it's all wrong, and it's not that I need to just like completely turn into a puddle and surrender to everything and just like, but what if I did? Like, what if I did? I've always operated with such a rigidity, so much structure to my life. And here I am wondering why I'm stressed. Well, that might give a bit of a clue. I don't know that I've like fully allowed myself to adapt to, like, as I've gotten older or as my responsibilities have changed, as my environments have changed. Like, am I still holding myself to the standards that I was when I was 21 or 25 or 30? There's just so many variables that affect us, that we are influenced by, that change and evolve all around us all the time. So why are we trying to stay the same when everything else is changing? I think that there is room to develop trust in myself, where right now I think that by surrendering control means that I don't have control, that like I lose control. To me, that like I have chalked that up to be the scariest thing. The absolute scariest thing is to lose control. That's the big reason, like all growing up, like in my teens and 20s, I had a really hard time experimenting with like drugs and alcohol, especially when like all my friends were having a great time. I was so afraid of losing control that it really hindered my openness to some of those experiences. And maybe that's not a terrible thing, but like that spoke to a larger challenge of like not trusting myself or worrying what I would be like if I surrendered control and either allowed someone else to lead or to just trust that like I don't know, like I have a hard time even articulating, like, would that mean like just not having control? Would that just maybe mean loosening my grip on control? That's a hard one for me. It's really, really hard. And I think my approach to all my stress that I've been feeling has actually been to control my environment even more. And maybe that's an example of when it's helpful. But right now I feel like I'm not really an authority on the right amount of control or when control is helpful. Right now I think that I'm merely the student of life. I was reading a little bit about what we might do to address chronic stress. The American Psychological Association had some ideas, had some suggestions. I think one that I'm not great at is tapping into my support system and just like kind of letting people know that I'm having a hard time. And I think that those types of conversations can be so helpful because you have no idea what someone might say or suggest. It could just like take you completely out of your own head and just like allow you a bit of a break from needing to know the answers and to just like have somebody else make suggestions or just like hear you out and provide space and just like have company in the struggle. So that is one that I know I could be a little more open to. One here on this list from the American Psychological Association, is setting limits, which is kind of appropriate for me. I don't know necessarily how to set limits without like them becoming rules to live by. Like I was kind of explaining earlier, when I kind of set a limit, it's kind of like, okay, well, now this is the rule. So now there's stress, because if you stray from that, then you're failing. Maybe setting limits can be a little bit more open-ended. So I have to give that some thought, because right now my mind just goes to like very rigid parameters for what that would look like. But, you know, with school and with work, like I mean, I'm very lucky that when I'm not at work, I don't think about work. So that is a beauty about this job that I have. I am not bringing any of that stress home. School, however, seems to be a pretty big source of stress. And I have to acknowledge that, like, I have been striving for A's, and, you know, to pass the course, I need to get a 70. So how important is it to me that I get A's if I'm going to get the same result if I get 70s? So that is like, maybe I need to adjust like the expectation around grades. Like the format of my schooling is you basically get like top marks if you post in these forums 5 times over 5 days, and your marks lessen if you say, for example, only post 4 times, or you post 5 times but only over 4 days. So like I've been going for the 5 posts over 5 days because that's perfect marks. If I'm not striving for 100%, there's lots of wiggle room. And I just like haven't allowed myself any wiggle room with that. So that is probably an area that I could say like, hey, maybe the limit here is you're only going to be doing school for 4 days a week. Like you'll commit to 4 days a week instead of 5. So that is definitely an area that I can improve upon and just like be a bit more flexible. I am going to continue working with Jillian on my gut health, and just like I have a new doctor or nurse practitioner, and I'm going to continue seeking support just to make sure that I'm physically healthy. I did recently start going to a yoga studio. I signed up for like the monthly intro pass. So that has actually been great. That is something that I realized I was missing. I hadn't started yoga here since moving here. Just finding these moments of like actual peace. I find that the yoga really brings me into the present, and I can just focus on my physical body and just like being in that shared community space. That felt really good. So it's also worth like really, really hammering in, or really not, the hammer is such a strong word, but just like really acknowledging what feels good, like what feels nourishing, and what feels hard or feels like a punishment almost, or feels like a rule. Because like ultimately I am the boss of my own life, and I make the rules. I can make and break the rules in this life of mine. I do imagine that chronic stress is something that a lot of us in the human service, caregiving world has to confront. I also know that like our world right now just feels like very stressful. It's also normal to experience stress from time to time, but it's always a good idea to have resources that support you throughout any type of stress you're going through, chronic or not. And chronic just means like it's been going on a long time. The way I know it's there is that I just always feel like there's never enough time. I always feel like I could cry at any minute. I always wake up feeling tired. I feel so overwhelmed by making plans. I feel so overwhelmed by like making commitments on my days off because I don't know if I'm going to have the bandwidth. I don't know if I'm going to have the energy. I will like keep my days deliberately unstructured because I just think that I will need all the alone time or all the downtime that I can possibly get. So those are indicators to me that I am just kind of in this perpetual state of stress. And I can safely say this has been going on for a long time. And I am now experiencing physical symptoms on my body. At least those are like pretty loud. That those are like harder to ignore. Whereas the other stuff that you can't really see or feel, it was easy to let those go for a long time. But now my body's like, actually, you are very physically uncomfortable. So what are you going to do about it? So I'm listening, body. I'm trying. My husband and I are going away for the next 2 days, and I'm leaving my school at home. I'm leaving it all at home. It is just an opportunity to connect with each other, relax, get outside, sleep in. And I'm gonna leave it at that. Thank you for listening. Thank you for being here. Thank you for taking care of yourselves. Thank you for being a support to me. Thank you for being a support to those around you. I'll catch you soon.